So Mark here from Rock and Load. This evening I am joined all the way from Durban, South Africa, Mr. Ryno Theron from Truth Decayed, South African Thrasher. The guys have a new EP dropping this coming Friday, Faded Visions Part 1. So it's Part 1 of 2 for 2022. Ryno, how are you keeping, sir?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, as I said before we started the recording, just been busy. It's launch week, so it's quite stressful, obviously. But yeah, I'm good. I think I'm in a good space.
Yeah, you're reaching. I'm good. Yeah, I'm good, man. Yeah, it's actually beautiful weather here. Cold, but we have sunshine for a change, which is a rare thing in Ireland. So yeah, this is what you got to do. Has to be celebrated.
Nice,
yeah. So you're literally touching the finish line now for this new project. You guys are a relatively new band anyway. Just formed.
Yes.
Just formed at the start of the pandemic.
That's correct. Yeah, we essentially started as a lockdown band during the hard periods of the lockdown.
Yeah.
Warren and I just bounced some riffs off each other, and we were just bored over the period. I'd released some of my solo music, which, by the way, you guys supported very well at that time as well. Thank you for that. And I just needed something to do, and now we
Yeah, and yourself and Warren, did you know each other previously from other projects?
We had worked together before, and we're also schoolmates from like grade 1. As early as that, it's a very old friendship.
Going way back.
way back. Lots of memories there.
Yeah, and tell me a little bit about South Africa and the South African music scene, because for somebody this far on the other side of the pond, it's hard to picture what South Africa is like. I would say that I'm genuinely quite ignorant to what South Africa is like. You know, you have all these media coverage of Africa as a continent, and obviously the troubles and strifes that have always existed over there. But so what is South Africa like? What is Durban, where you sort of are based, like?
Okay, well, just some general information. Durban is usually very hot, very humid. It's a beach city.
Very good.
And the people from inland often come to us over the holidays for our nice weather, especially over winter.
Yeah.
And in terms of the question of the music scene, if you had asked that question many years ago, it would have probably been a more bleak answer than now. But I think we've gone in strides, very strong. And also because South Africa is such a diverse country. I mean, we've got 11 official languages, lots of different nationalities and people from all sorts of different backgrounds. There's so much different music and numerous parts of the industry are actually doing really well. So like on topic with metal and rock, I mean, a lot of people I don't think know that Seether essentially is a South African band, or at least with 2 of the members now.
Okay.
And I mean, they are huge exports. And in the heavier side of things, you've got Vulvodynia that's done some amazing things lately. I don't know how many people even know they from South Africa, and they've done terrific things. I mean, they also this Friday I think they're leaving for a North American tour. They've toured the world. So South African music's definitely getting out there. I think just when a lot of our bands break, a lot of people don't realize we're from South Africa.
Yeah.
But we've definitely done some amazing things. There's also Prime Circle that's done amazing things in Germany, and even within the metal community, beyond Vulvodynia, there's Datesy's Muse, I think, played Bloodstock, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. I met the guys. I met the guys when they were there. Yeah.
Oh well, well there we go. Yeah. Amazing act. That such cool guys and such a great band. I mean, definitely things are starting to happen, and I mean, I think with the internet and modern advances like that, it's made it more possible. I think the internet also made it easier for bands to make a living without having to rely on a label or something like that. If you can get funding from fans, you can get out there and you can tour the world. And I think South African music's in a good, strong place. I mean, we did a event just on Saturday, put together by Emilith Events, and I think 16-year-old me or whatever would never have imagined to see a metal event at a venue of that caliber with that kind of lighting and that kind of turnout as well. So I think things are quite strong, in my personal opinion.
And has the metal scene, for example, has that been slow in developing in South Africa, or has it always been a steady grower?
Definitely there were periods where things looked bleak, but even within saying that, there were still bands doing amazing things at that time. way back in the day, bands like Aggro played Wacken Festival in Germany. I think they played it twice, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, bands like Trenchant back in the day that were making some waves. And there's even more. I'm just speaking from what I know of. But definitely it was a slow period of growth. And in many ways, there's still a lot of challenges. For metal in particular, I think Vulvodynia has just opened the doors so wide because people realize like what kind of an export we can get from this country. I mean,
yeah,
just their level of professionalism and their proficiency and their playing and all that. But yeah, I think the biggest issue we have in certain parts of South Africa, particularly in our province in Durban, we have no venue. Like Durban literally does not have a venue now.
oh, right,
so
okay.
we've got to really, so we've got to talk to a lot of different venues to try get shows going. And it's helped, but quite often they pubs and stuff like that. And as soon as the really heavy stuff comes, they get a little bit squeamish for it. But some good things happened. There was events at a place called Westville Warehouse, and they closed off with a metal band for the night, Thorns of Ivory, good friends of ours, and they had it was a crazy show. People were definitely hungry for it, in Durban. But then you look at Gauteng province. I know for them, they might feel things are a bit less, but for us in Durban, they've got at least like 4 steady venues that I can think of, and even more. And then they've got Pretoria, which is like close on the outskirts. So they've got a very strong scene from my vantage points, at least. And Cape Town's also got a lot of good stuff going on. Great bands coming from there as well, like the Fallen Prophets and Peasant and Halva and excellent bands like that. So yeah, I think one of our biggest problems is venues. But aside from that, South Africa is definitely doing great. And the venues that are available, they like Sonage that I played at this past weekend. It's just amazing to see where it's gone. So there's definitely good progress and development. So even if it was slow starting back in the day, it's definitely picking up a lot quicker now.
Yeah. And so what approach do you have to take then with those sort of challenges in mind, say venues and I suppose even just the geography of it all? How do you approach sort of getting a band exposure, and is it like networking with other metal bands and trying to get on the back of shows or tours?
I think networking is definitely a good thing. And I think more bands can engage in that sort of thing. This past weekend's been great for us, and we got to network with a lot of people we firstly look up to and otherwise just connect with them anyways as well. For Truth Decayed, I think one of the best decisions we did was to start working with David Westhuizen from Diva Graphic.
Yeah.
I mean, he obviously helps set up this interview we're having now, and just it's gotten us to meet amazing people around the world, such as yourself. And it opens the doors in so many ways, because he's got such a vast and huge amounts of experience and reach, exactly, because just purely through the network that he's developed over the years, and he's worked with so many international bands and stuff like that he knows how it works. He knows what the world standard is, and that definitely makes a difference. In terms of the working within South Africa, because obviously you still got to perform in your own city, and traveling the world is expensive. I think in cities like Durban, it's a bit difficult because we really got to work hard to get venues that are prepared to have us, but we do it, and it really works out well when it does happen. And as I say, Gauteng province and Cape Town, but particularly Gauteng province, they got quite a few venues. They got a very strong, close-knit scene in many ways. Like, to me, there's also like 3 subsections within it, which is pretty good on its own. And when they come together, they can put on some banger events. But for me personally, I think get a good team behind you. Get a good PR and A&R person, good manager. They could all be the same person like they are in our case. And networking, and just, really reach out and connect with other bands on social media. Don't just push your own band, send shout outs to other groups and stuff. Connect. I mean, we're on it together. That's essentially the way I see it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned about obviously team, because it is important. An awful lot of bands will sort of be so blinkered maybe with their own progress that they get the head down, get on with things, but the reality is you can't do it all yourself, and sometimes you do need to hand over proportions of the business or the experience to people who do know how to do it.
Absolutely. I mean, I think I did pretty good on my own, particularly with my solo stuff before Devo. And you know, one or two times people would be like, "Wow, how'd you get that interview or that feature or whatever?" But then, as soon as I started working with him, it's like my mind just blew. It's like, you know, I almost don't think he's human. I don't know how he can keep up with the workload that he has. But that's yet again just that experience and that network and that professionalism. And what it's done is it's allowed myself, and even within Truth Decayed as a band, to focus on the important things, which is the music and engaging with fans, and that's what we should be doing. And you know, you leave the other side, the business side, to someone who really has the experience to do it. So
yeah, I think that's
100%.
It's an important lesson. It's so tough, isn't it? Because you're expected to do absolutely everything these days as a modern musician, but the reality is, you know, your creative side maybe suffers because of the expectation or strain of everything else that comes along with it.
Absolutely, I completely agree with that.
Yeah. And so, tell me about the new project and the new two-parter. What was the thought process behind that, and why did you decide to break it into two parts?
Well, we like 4 albums. I mean, we're all slightly older in the band. We're not a bunch of 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
So we still like the idea of a traditional 4 album. But, you know, a lot of people do prefer getting smaller portions of music, but more sort of regularly, as opposed to an album over a year or two.
Yeah.
So Faded Visions is essentially an album, but it's ended up being 2 EPs split in half. And it's just really so people can receive Faded Visions Part 1, they can really take it in, soak it all up for what it is, and then get hungry, and then later in the year get Part 2. And I think it just gives more attention to, instead of skimming through a couple of songs and just listening to the ones that they see as bangers, they can appreciate everything that's within the 2 parts. So it's maybe trying to keep a bit of the old school vibe of metal, but with a modern approach, with what a lot of other bands are doing now, what a lot of the younger bands are doing. So
yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? I was talking to somebody else just the other day, and they had released 5 singles from their album, which they haven't as yet released because they're a new their band like yourself, who formed and started during the pandemic. And it is, as you say, it's almost bite-sized chunks, the way that the modern music industry deals with musicians these days. It's like constantly releasing singles, and then by the time you actually release an album, you've maybe had 8 or 9 single releases. You know, it's a crazy approach, but is there a right or wrong answer anymore? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's just different for everyone. I mean, our drummer Daniel Philogene, he's involved in a bunch of different projects as well. And some of them are more like commercially viable stuff, like pop projects and stuff like that. And I know they've been doing single releases, and even with videos with each single.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, just read your market and read your fan base. So for that fan base and market that they have, that's a logical approach. And for us, it's a bit tricky because we do have a lot of the older thrash metal fans and stuff like that, and people in our age groups that still enjoy 4 albums. So I don't think it would be a good move for us to push singles per se, because people want substance.
Yeah.
But by splitting it in half, hopefully we can get the attention of some of the younger fans that want something smaller to chew on, and then something later. So we're just trying to find a happy middle ground, and I hope we've done so.
Yeah, I know.
We'll
it's a toss of a coin. It really is a toss of a coin. And I don't think anybody has it down to fine art, because it's such a quick evolving and changing industry as well, from month to month and year to year. What worked last year, it got, obviously because of 2020 with the pandemic, everybody being at home, for example, people are back out to work, doing things differently, absorbing music differently. So you have to think on your feet, don't you?
Definitely. Everything's changed. I mean, it's even like us as a band. I mean, we didn't even rehearse together as a band before the first single was out.
Yeah.
And then when we started performing, it was all online. I mean, we've had the wonderful opportunity to open for some great international bands, but we weren't physically with them. We were all recording at our homes or whatever, but we're sharing festivals together online, and it's strange, but it's still a wonderful experience at the same time. And it's also a nice honor to see your name next to some amazing acts. So
yeah, and
definitely changed everything.
Yeah, and technology has given such a broad reach as well now, with being able to do those things. Like, could you imagine, you know, as you say, as a teenager, you would never in a million years ever imagine that you would have had a reach of millions, you know, really at your fingertips now, never mind playing to 300 people in a room.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree with you. And it's still quite mind-blowing. I mean, also just different people from different parts of the world reaching out to you and communicating.
Yeah.
It's something to get used to, but it is something I really enjoy. It's probably one of the things I enjoy the most, meeting interesting people from around the world and just seeing how the scenes change and differ between different places. I mean, even South Americans are so passionate, and the Greek fans are very much the same. And then, you know, you get to the UK fans, they're a little bit more like what we like. And yeah, it's so exciting. It's quite an experience.
For sure. And so tell me a little bit about the history of yourself as a musician, and like who were your main influences and inspirations growing up. And you're a vocalist and guitarist, isn't that right?
That's correct, yes.
So did you find your voice in choir, was it?
No. Yeah, I don't do much of the clean stuff. I just done some of that in my solo stuff recently, but yeah, I'm generally a screamer.
Yeah.
My vocal influences come strongly from like Max Cavalera from Sepultura. Always been a huge fan of him. Also, what's his name? I think it's Jesse from Hatebreed.
Oh yeah.
That's a damn good vocalist. Yeah, I love his stuff. So that's sort of where my vocal chops came from. I only did vocals in one other band before, which was an old band of mine called Throne, also a metal band, sort of like true metal vibes, trivium sort of edge to it. But yeah, back in the day, I suppose I grew up with early Metallica and Iron Maiden, huge Iron Maiden fan. Love Sepultura, as I mentioned earlier as well. So it was, I suppose, logical to go into a thrash metal route in some way. Although our sound has changed a lot with Faded Visions. I've been getting into a lot of Lorna Shore stuff and so on, stuff like that more lately, you know, more modern heavy death metal stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously Slayer played a big part back in the day for Warren and myself. I've been playing for a very long time though. I think I was in my first band when I was 16. I'm 38 now. So yeah, started playing bass for some bands back then, and then got onto guitar. Played in numerous bands, played a lot of shows in my life. Well, my solo stuff just before the pandemic actually kept me very busy. So yeah, I suppose music's always been in my blood. My cousin's probably a big contributor for Warren and myself, getting us into the stuff we like. You know, you've always got the older cousin that's got the evil music at his house.
The cool record collection.
Yeah, it was literally just that cool record collection and some amazing records. You know, back then when you're younger, something that's missing nowadays, but to sit and go through an Iron Maiden record catalog and you look for all the secret artwork and stuff and so on. Now that was something quite special, man.
It's a lost art today, isn't it? You know, so many, especially the younger generation that not really growing up with that or experiencing that, but that was really such a big thing for us back in the day. The full double sleeve albums and the artwork and the beauty and intricacy of all that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the most amazing things for me to see is when we do have the odd younger fans that order CDs, and if you talk to them, they say like, yeah, no, they actually go through their parents' record collection and stuff. So there's a handful of people still experiencing it. Obviously not to the same extent that we did, but yeah.
Well, it's funny. I watched an interview a while back there, and Brian May was saying that vinyl actually outsold CDs last year for the first time. So it's hard to believe. Hard to believe in 2022 that that's the case. But obviously a lot of old middle-aged guys looking back with rose-tinted glasses at old metal albums.
Yeah. I suppose CDs I don't think aged all that well. I think vinyl still got that beautiful vintage thing about them, you know, and the big sleeves, as you say, and you know, people still order CDs, but I think it's more like a memento thing. But like, I mean, even Warren, our other lead guitarist, he always says, yeah, when we release a vinyl, then he'll consider that we made it to some degree.
Yeah.
I think it's just something special about vinyl. I don't know. I was even talking a while back to a fantastic blues guitarist we got, Dan Patlansky.
I know Dan. Dan's a serious player. Yeah. Beautiful player.
Oh, yeah, amazing player. And just finding out like his vinyls, as well, he generally does it for Europe because he performs your side of the world quite often. I think he was just in Amsterdam quite recently. But,
he's actually in the UK. He's in the UK at the moment, touring across the UK right now. Yeah.
Excellent. Good stuff.
Covered one of his shows just in the past week there.
Oh, that's excellent. Oh, well, that must have been a treat. But yeah, it was just interesting hearing from him. Like I know in Europe in particular, I'm sure many other different parts of the world, even vinyl in South Africa is picking up a little bit as well now. Funny enough, in a lot of different industries as well. You check like a lot of the guys in the hip hop industry and stuff appreciate it quite a bit now. So
Yeah.
quite nice to see. I like that that's coming back. It's a hell of a lot more expensive than it used to be, but it's still pretty cool.
Yeah. And there's so few companies actually producing it, I think. And obviously you have so many bands doing re-releases, even like the big classic bands like Def Leppard and Pink Floyd and Rush and all these guys. It's obviously a problem then trying to get this stuff for bands like yourself who maybe want to join the queue and produce something. It's too many challenges, man. There's just like a hurdles everywhere you look.
Yeah. Oh, one day we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Maybe I can chat to Dan or one of the guys and try to find out who they work with if the demand picks up for it.
That's it, absolutely. And so tell me about where did you source all this stuff? So like of say music and metal instruments, is that I was seeing an interview recently, just it popped in my head because Yngwie Malmsteen was saying back in the day in Sweden, for example, there was one television channel, you know, you were lucky if you got your hands on a guitar magazine, you know, that was what the country was like. So was South Africa, like, did you have metal on record stores and on the shelves? Was it readily available to you, or did you have to really go looking for it?
It's a lot different to what it is now. Now, you know, and thanks to the internet, we can get pretty much anything we want. Plus we have proper music stores and all that. I think one of the bigger challenges back in the day, you know, we had music, we had labels, and we had TV and all that back, limited channels and so on, but everything was there. But I think the biggest problem would have been censorship, obviously in the 80s with apartheid. So censorship played a big role in making it difficult, but it also made people hungry. I mean, if you ever want to watch an interesting documentary, you can check what's it called, Searching for Sugar Man or something like that. That's a great documentary, and it gives a good idea of how it was back in the day with the censorship and how he actually became a star, but never really broke in his own home country. It's quite tragic as well because he got ripped off. But I think as far as back as I know a bunch of musicians that were good friends of mine, the late and great Steve Fattar. He was performing in the 60s already, I think, and they were pretty big shows. So I think we still had access to stuff. I know when I was younger, there was a magazine called Top 40. That was like one of my favorite things to check out. Followed a lot of Guns N' Roses and AC/DC news back then. I think we've always been okay. South Africa, you know, it's a rather developed country, although we are third world. The biggest problem would have just been back in the day with censorship. That would have been a big issue. I know a lot of albums like The War and all that would have been very difficult to get. You'd have to buy it under the counter. But it still got you.
Of course. Where there's a will, there's a way, isn't there?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And
I mean, if you
sorry, I was going to say today then. So, for example, where would the music be played? So do you have like say metal music channels on either TV or on South African radio?
Definitely not on TV anymore. The only chance you would have had for something like that would have been probably more in like the 90s or something like that. But that would also be a more general TV show that would just happen to play Guns N' Roses or something like that. So TV's never really been a strong one. We did have an Afrikaans station called MK89 or MK89, as we said, Afrikaans. That was very cool at a stage. They had like metal shows and rock, and they covered a lot of punk stuff, and mostly Afrikaans as well, but they also brought in a lot of the English heavier bands. So that was on DSTV, which is like one of our satellite stations that we had. That hasn't been around for a while now. So everything nowadays is more dependent on the internet. We've got a great radio personality here called France the Planet. And he's with Berg Studio. He also runs Berg Studio, and he's got a bunch of awesome DJs with him. And there's so many other stations. There's Rebel Rock Radio and a whole lot. So the internet's definitely made a difference on that. And I think that's why a lot of people don't even bother going onto TV anymore, because it's just too much of a headache and issues. So in terms of the online scene, it's definitely quite strong. And France the Planet's a good example of that, because he does amazing things for metal music and just alternative rock music in general. He's part of a lot of events. He's actually setting up a nice one in May. That's coming up as well, May 7th.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say, to answer your question specifically, yeah, I'd say it's all online now. I can't think of anything on TV or anything like that now to reach out.
It's important to find somebody who's going to champion the music, isn't it, really? And in Ireland anyway, we're really, really fortunate to have some brilliant promoters who are really passionate about metal. So they constantly bringing in even really extreme, unusual bands that you normally wouldn't see because they're passionate about that genre of music especially. But yeah, we're very, very fortunate. And you take can take that for granted sometimes as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Now in South Africa, we've got a good bunch. I mean, like David Oosthuizen from Diva Graphic that works with us. He does a lot of amazing things, and I know he brings artists over as well. Just to think of a few that I can mention is Patrick Davidson from Metal for Africa. He's done amazing things. Emilith, who we just played with recently, they're fantastic. As I've mentioned, France the Planet, and people that he's doing a show with now, Springer Productions. The list goes on. I'm going to miss some people, but there is, and those people are important because they also bring great bands over to us. Back in the day, it was Witch Doctor Records. I know they bought bands like Sepultura and Soulfly and amongst many others, Caucus, I think, as well. And if it wasn't for those people, we wouldn't get to see these amazing bands, and South African bands wouldn't have the opportunity to open for them. So that's another thing. So yeah, I completely agree with you. Promoters make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Even for a band like us that wants to go play in Ireland one day, we will need to rely on those amazing people there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the touring scene within South Africa, do you get a lot of international bands coming through?
Through a lot of the people that I just mentioned, and the few numerous ones that I missed. There's also Plug Music Agency. But yeah, definitely, we've more so recently, just before the lockdown, we actually had Black Dahlia Murder that performed, yeah. I try and remember who brought them. Yeah, excellent band. And I know one South African band really broke out from that, band called Sunken State that opened up for them for that show, and I believe they did absolutely phenomenally there. And that was literally like just before the lockdown. So thank goodness that still went through. But yeah, we've had some good ones, some proper international acts, and it's also nice for bands like us to get an opportunity to open for them and to just be exposed to that, that level of professional performance. So we get a few.
Yeah, I'm always fascinated about what I would call the growing pains of a band, because obviously, as you say yourself, the opportunity and experience of performing on a larger stage with a band, and maybe just witnessing firsthand up close the professionalism and what's required to be a band at that level. It's an interesting process, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I've done this for so long. I've gone through it a few times, and it's quite nice with this band because with the current lineup we have now, you've got myself and Daniel Philogene, the drummer. We've played big festivals, we played smaller events, we played to Barman, we played to huge crowds.
Yeah.
And then you've got Warren, who's he's a very accomplished player, but he hadn't performed much up until this point. And then you got Johan, who's very new. Everything's very new to him. So it's quite nice. Like the last show we played this past Saturday, it was a beautiful event, beautiful venue, fantastic lighting. So like you just check Johan's eyes lighting up, and you can see like it reminds me of myself the first times that I experienced those things. And even from Warren's side, like but it is growing pains of a band. It's something that never ends. And it's also weird when you restart over and over again and go through the process again. But it's also nice because you learn so much from the mistakes in the past. So like it gets a little easier each time, I think.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And isn't it interesting as well? You mentioned obviously the band, generally you guys are experienced and you're not in your 20s anymore. You're in your 30s or heading towards 40 or whatever. But when you look around you at the great bands that are out there now, they're not young either. The bands who are really making the mark now are bands who've been doing it for decades and are really honed in on a sound or a genre.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I mean, like Vulvodynia that I mentioned a few times, they broke very well, and they are younger guys, or at least compared to us. But I think they started in 2014 or something like that. So like a lot of people might see them as an overnight success, but they really worked their asses off to get where they are.
Yeah.
I even remember another band, local band in KZN. I'm not going to mention their name, but they broke up because they felt things weren't going that well for them. They're a more commercially viable band, and they were doing corporate gigs and all that. But I mean, they'd only been together for about 10 years. And I know to most people it would be like, oh, wow, it's 10 years, that's so long. It's like, no, 10 years is not long. The first 5 years is literally just teething. And the fact that they could get to the level of doing corporate gigs and stuff within that 10 years, that's quite an achievement. And I think if they just stuck around, they could have really gone places. So yeah, you're quite right with that. I mean, even look at Lamb of God. What?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, these guys, the Foo Fighters, and all these boys aren't young anymore. You know, they're heading 50 plus. You know, and they've been doing it for decades, and that's why they're so good. You know, they just kept at it and played thousands of gigs.
100%. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, and I was going to say there, you're endorsed, am I right, by SA Guitars? Is that right?
It's AS Guitars.
Oh, AS, sorry, AS, sorry.
No, I think a lot of people assume SA because they think South Africa, it's but it's actually it's named after the builder. The guitar builder is Elaine Smith, so that's where the AS comes from.
Okay.
And he was a local builder here in Durban, in the same province as mine. And he's now based in Germany. He's moved his business, and him and his wife have moved over there. Beautiful instruments. It's boutique and it's very niche, but that guitar has literally spoiled guitars for me because it's so comfortable to play, and it's
I think when you find the one, it's hard to look at anything else in the same sort of light, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. There's just something special about that. No, and he does a great job. His craftsmanship is amazing, and you know, he doesn't push out. It's not bulk loads or anything like that. So each guitar is really handcrafted. There's a lot of care taken into it. So you can feel it when you play it, and that's something quite amazing.
And what sort of guitar do you like? Are you a vintage style guitarist, or do you prefer more modern?
I suppose it depends what I'm playing. So for Truth Decayed, it will either be my AS guitar from Elaine, or I've got another Ibanez that I enjoy playing, a black one. It's not your traditional Ibanez shape though. Can't think of the model, but yeah, it's beautiful. It's something I like to play. When I'm doing like more rock stuff or like my psychedelic stuff, I like a beat up Strat, something that looks ugly and all messed up, or like a Telecaster. I like ugly guitars, I suppose. Yeah. But my AS guitar is not ugly. That's beautiful. But vintage, I would say I like. I also love checking a nice Gibson Les Paul Sunburst or whatever that's starting to chip off, and so that's my vibe.
You like the relics look?
Yeah, very much. Yeah. And if a paint starts chipping, I'll pick at it.
Yeah. And out of curiosity, for example, musical instruments, are they hard to get in South Africa? Or are there any factories or companies within South Africa? Are they all imported in?
I'd say most of them are imported in. You got local builders like Elaine when he was Jastor, and there are a few other luthiers and guitar builders and stuff here. But generally, it's all brought in. I mean, if you want a Fender or anything like that, to my knowledge, I can't think of anyone. I think Court Guitars, they make pretty decent guitars. I think they might have something, but I'm not too sure. I know there's a Court SA line or something like that. I'm not too clued up to answer that 100% honestly, but I'd assume 90% of it at least is imported, or if not all. Yeah.
And what about amps and sound? What do you like to use?
For Truth Decayed, Warren and I are using just crate blockheads. I think they 150 watts, if I'm not mistaken. They're nice.
What are they like? Because I used to have a crate 50 watt vintage 2x12, and it was a killer amp, you know.
Yeah. Oh, the blockheads are cool because they're nice and sturdy. They're easy to tour with. They're small, so you can fit it into a small bag. So as long as there's a cab at a show, we can plug in. And it's a pretty simple amp. It doesn't have much. I think it's got one mid knob and the treble and bass and so on. And we also play through the Ampero processors. So our tone comes from that really. But sometimes we can even plug it directly into the venue. If the venue is good and the sound guy's good and knows what he's doing, we quite often will just plug in straight. And that's why the crate blockhead works well for that. It's nice and loud, but it's not valves or anything, so we're not going to get any warm tone. That's all done from the processor. Yeah, I like valve amps, but I blow the valves all the time. So
too hard on them. Too hard on them.
Yeah,
and you haven't gone down the digital route at all, or have you investigated digital?
Oh, that's what the Amperos are for that we got. So they're very similar to the Line 6, the Line 6, what did I call it? The Helix?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, very, very similar to Helix, and that's why we can plug directly in if we want to. And that's worked for us. I mean, I like the thing, but you've also got to think about when you're touring what's going to be cost effective, and you know, you don't want to give too much money out on taking a load of gear. So that's essentially why we've gone that route.
And in the studio, did you use the same sort of stuff in the studio, or did you try anything different?
Okay, so for the recording process, we actually record directly from our Amperos. One nice feature that they got is it records a wets and a dry line. So we've got the exact same thing played, but one is dry. So then we then sent it off to Kris. Our album was mixed and mastered by Kris Xenopoulos from Vulvodynia. So he's in a different part of the country out in Pretoria. So we'll just send him the dry and clean channels, and then he blends it as he feels, or he adds his own plugins to it and everything. So yeah, that was quite an easy process. So most of the recording, I think, was done literally in my lounge right here where I am. The drums obviously done in studio and so on. And then, then we just send it off to him, and he works his wonderful magic on it. Yeah.
It's mad, the modern world, and the fact that you're actually able to do that anymore. I remember talking to, I forgot the name of the guy now. He was the bass player in Chris Broderick's band. And those guys were in 4 different states in America, you know, and literally then they're just sending digital files back and forth to each other. They recorded an album without actually getting together. You know, it's crazy thought. You think that a band's recording an album, putting it out, and literally haven't been in a room together. It's mad.
Yeah, it's you know, like, I think it is a way to move forward. It gives opportunity for smaller but popular bands to actually make something, because back in the day, you could be a really popular band, but if you weren't backed by a label, you just didn't stand a chance, because where you're going to get the money to spend a month or 2 in a studio to have that huge drum rig to record the drums like that. And, you know, the quality of the stuff nowadays is amazing. And if you've got a good producer like Kris, or so many guys out there, they do a fantastic job with the digital side of it. And I do think it gives bands an opportunity, because if you just look at what those studio costs would have cost back in the day, you'd never make it back on touring if you're a popular but smaller band. And I think it's amazing. You know, who knows? Would a band like, I mean, I know they're a lot bigger now, but would a band like Venom Prison or something like that had broken if that opportunity wasn't there? What a shame if they didn't, because they're such a fantastic band, you know. So yeah, that's the way I see it, at least.
It's probably never a better time in history to be a musician or be an artist in that sense, because you literally can do it all from your bedroom, you know, and get it out to the world. It's just really having the drive and having the know-how to reach people, and a little bit of luck as well. You do need luck.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, everything comes at a cost. So, like, I think back in the day, a lot less bands obviously made it. Or made something with their music, but when you did, you really made it very big. Nowadays, there's just way too many bands out there, so it's very difficult to get seen. But I think that's where making wise choices, like getting a good PR guy or that team behind you, like we spoke about earlier, is important, because that is something that can separate you from the rest. Otherwise, you just fall behind in the noise. But I agree with you. The opportunity is more there now, you know, and definitely, and you don't have to do it with the burden of paying a label back the rest of your life. So absolutely. Well, look, thanks very much for your time.
It's been fantastic talking to you. Actually, interesting, great to talk to somebody who's so far away and get an insight into life and metal and music on the other side of the world. It's great to share the experience with you.
Absolutely, I've enjoyed sharing it with you, and thank you for just awesome interview and just a great chat, man.
Absolute pleasure. We'll catch up maybe when part 2 is going to drop as well. We'll find out how things have progressed since then.
Awesome. Well, hopefully it will all be good by that point. By the way, I love that Satch poster at the back there.
I know, yeah. I got it years ago. I've been looking for something. I have another big one somewhere, which is too big. I need to get it framed, get up on the wall, fill this bloody place, do something. But yeah, thanks again, man. Great talking to you. And I have a guy reviewing the album or the EP, so we'll have that out before the weekend for you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I look forward to that, man.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Look, thanks again, once again, Mr. Ryno Theron from Truth Decayed, all the way from Durban, South Africa. Great pleasure talking to you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
No problem. Catch you in the